Donald Trump is a clear front runner, but he is not the only Republican making a strong showing in the polls. Dr. Ben Carson is on a roll ever since the first GOP debate, but as he gears up for the next one on CNN in September, on the 16th of September, we're hoping he has more questions and he gets to talk a little bit more. The big question in the wake, though, of today's tragedy in Virginia is about gun control and gun law. So joining me now is Republican presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good to be back with you again.
So, Dr. Carson, you know, we witnessed a terrible shooting today. As a neurosurgeon and someone who tries to prolong life and give life to people, after you watch a crime like this, does it make you question at all the role of guns in our society?
Well, it makes me question, you know, what's happening to us as a people. You know, people are the problem, not so much guns. You know, people use knives, people use bats, people use hammers to bludgeon people to death, and I don't hear anybody talking about taking those things away. So,
but Dr. Carson, I have to ask you, because having a gun offers people a unique opportunity and advantage to kill multiple people at a time, to do injury that may be far greater than any of those other instruments that you mentioned.
Therefore, what would you suggest? That we take all the guns away?
No, I'm asking you. You're running for president, so I'm asking you the question. I mean, a baseball bat and a 9mm or a Glock, as this young man used, those are two different things.
See, we have to recognize that we are a country of laws, and we have a supreme law called the United States Constitution, and the Second Amendment of that Constitution gives citizens the right to keep and bear arms. Therefore, anything that we're going to do has to be done with respect to the Second Amendment.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on now and talk about your standing in the polls. Because in this Fox poll that you're second behind Donald Trump. You're also in second in some key states like South Carolina, in Iowa as well. Why do you think you have suddenly taken off? You're, I don't want to say the new golden boy, because Donald Trump is leading, but you have certainly made a mark in the polls.
Well, I think it's because people are actually getting a chance to hear me. You know, before the first debate, half the people didn't even know who I was. And they've been doing their homework subsequently and actually getting a chance to hear from my own lips what I've said, as opposed to what others characterize me as saying, which are two completely different things.
Mm-hmm. We have been talking tonight about Donald Trump. We've been talking tonight about race, you know, the shooter as well, because he mentioned it. How do you think Donald Trump is dealing with the immigration issue, and how do you feel about the direction he has taken the political race?
Well, see, the wonderful thing about the political process that we have is that everybody gets to express themselves. And over the course of a period of time, some people complain that the period is too long. Mm-hmm. But over a significant period of time, you're able to see very clearly what kind of a person each one of us is. And the voters will then have an opportunity to choose the one that they feel is going to do the best job of leading this country.
Mm-hmm. I want to read something. This is from your op-ed that was in USA Today, and you said this about the Black Lives Matter movement. You said that they were focused on the wrong targets to the detriment of blacks, you said. And then here's what you write. You said, unjust treatment from police did not fill our inner cities with people who face growing hopelessness. Young men and women can't find jobs. Parents don't have the skills to compete in the modern job market. Far too many families are torn and tattered by self-inflicted wounds. Violence often walks alongside people who have given up hope. So you have said that anyone who questions the status quo on race gets called, like you, who happens to be a person of color, that they get called an Uncle Tom. So tell me what you think needs to be done to change things in this country.
Well, for one thing, we need to stop fighting each other. We need to stop getting in our respective corner and calling each other names and acting like third graders. Apologies to third graders. What we need to do is put on the table what our solutions are, all sides. And then, like intelligent people, discuss what the solutions are. Not so much pointing fingers at everybody, but let's ask ourselves, how do we resolve these issues? What are the things that are causing chronic hopelessness and unemployment in the black community.
And they are?
Well, many of the things are economic issues. For instance, we have the most powerful and dynamic economic engine that the world has ever known. But what do we do with it? We encircle it with all kinds of regulations. Now, what do regulations do? Every single regulation costs us money in terms of goods and services. This is not something you're going to hear from a lot of people.
Right.
And it costs poor people disproportionately more because they don't have as much cash.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of things that really drive the disparity. It's not the rich people. You can take all the money from the top 1% and apply it to these problems, and you're still going to have the problems. We have to actually deal with the fundamentals.
I want to play something that, because I was particularly struck by one of your recent trip to Harlem, and where you said this. Take a listen.
Whether I get the votes or not, I want people to start listening to what I'm saying and understanding that, you know, there's a way to go that will lead to upward mobility as opposed to dependency. And let's talk about that way, and let's not be satisfied to be patted on the head and kept like a pet.
So I'm assuming there that you're talking about the Democratic Party, right, taking black votes for granted. Do you think the Republican Party offers a better alternative, and how do you think the GOP can help?
Well, I don't know about the Republican Party. I know what I am going to be advocating. I'm going to be advocating that people invest in people. Business, industry, Wall Street, academia, churches, community groups. We have to take interest in the people around us. Those are the programs that work, that I've seen that work. The government programs have thrown money at poverty since the mid-60s, $19 trillion, and we have 10 times more people on welfare, more people in poverty, more broken homes, more crime. All the things that were supposed to be better are not only worse, they're much worse. So instead of fighting about it, let us all conclude that we want to elevate people, because we need all of our people. We only have 330 million people. We have to compete against China and India. They both have over 1 billion people. We need all of our people to succeed.
Yeah. So okay, let's talk about this, because it's going to be the focus of our next segment. It was the focus basically of our broadcast last night, about the way Donald Trump handled Jorge Ramos. What did you think of that?
You know, everybody probably is going to handle something like that in a different way. You know, I probably would have handled it differently. You probably would have handled it differently. Again, it goes back to the American people getting to know each one of us and deciding for themselves what kind of individual they want to represent them.
Dr. Ben Carson, we thank you for coming on CNN Tonight. Come back anytime. Good luck out there on the campaign trail.
Thank you, Don. Appreciate it.